welcome. Today we are in the studio and we have a special guest. We are talking with Jamie Flowers of Living Hope International. And as we said before, we're excited. We're bringing on a what I would call a giving back coffee that we're really we've been interested in for a while, and we were able with Jamie to make it happen. So Jamie, welcome.
It's good to be with you, Kenneth and Stefan. Nice to meet you today. And we're excited to develop this partnership with Humble Coffee.
Yes. So let's start at the beginning. So tell us a little bit about you and kind of how in the world, because we were talking earlier before we started here, you're in Michigan, we're in Mississippi, and we're talking about Zambia. So how tell us how it do? Like how did we get there?
Right. So I'm originally from Michigan. My home now is in Zambia, but home visiting family and friends right now. And Living Hope came out of work that our church was doing in Zambia. Our
Okay.
church had been going to Zambia, has been going there for over 20 years now, doing medical missions and other teaching missions, working with business leaders and educators. And out of that, in visiting Zambia, you can't visit Zambia without becoming aware of the amazing orphan need in
Mm,
Zambia. And so about 10% of their population are orphans.
wow.
And it was that need that drove the conception and development of Living Hope International. And if you want me to tell you more about the coffee, I can keep going. So
Well,
Living Hope
yeah, tell us
International
about the
developed.
coffee.
Yeah, so we developed with this heart for children, um, and all along we knew that if we're going to develop a ministry there, we wanted to have a self-sustaining quality to it as well, and in that way produce something agriculturally or some type of product that would help the ministry sustain itself, but also bless the community with employment and with training for them and professional development. And so it wasn't long before we acquired our property that we actually found a coffee bean on the ground. And
Okay.
at that point, we didn't know what it was. And
Yeah.
so, and then realizing what it was, we found out that there had been some nearby coffee farms
Uh-huh.
that had fallen on hard times. But we began to realize that, oh, our location is a good location to grow coffee. About 13 degrees below the equator and about 4,200 feet above sea level. We're in a really good space to grow coffee. And so it was then that we began to realize that might be the way to go. And coffee's I think it's the second most traded commodity in the world behind oil at this point. And
Yep.
so everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people drink coffee. And so we thought that might be a way to develop a self-sustaining ministry.
Okay, so I think that's great. And, as looking at Zambia itself and looking at coffee as a whole, I mean, honestly, there's some coffee that comes out of Zambia, but at least in the U.S.,
Yeah.
I'd say we don't see a lot of it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. When Kenneth came to me and said, "Hey, I've got this coffee from Zambia. I want you to try," I was like, I'm trying to rack my brain. When was the last time I actually had coffee from
Yeah,
Zambia? And I was like,
Right.
maybe at one of our cupping competitions or something like that.
yeah,
But I don't think I've ever just ordered coffee or bought coffee from a local roaster or off the shelf from Zambia. I mean, I'm sure we've probably had it or something like that. One of our coffee conventions or
yeah.
events that we've been to in a cupping scenario. But yeah, when you gave me that bag, I was like, I don't know what to think about this. So it was a fun experience for sure.
Yeah, I think I've had maybe one
Yep.
cup of coffee from Zambia, before now. And kind of funny story, I guess, Jamie, how you and I got together. Um, we were selling coffee at a trade show, or a holiday bazaar, and this sweet young lady came up, and she's like, "Oh, you're selling coffee. You're selling specialty coffee." Well, funny thing, my dad is a missionary and he's in Zambia, and just kept spiraling on, and we both kept going, huh, back and forth. And am I right? Did she say that down there when you're in Zambia you roast some yourself, or
Not yet. So
Okay.
during my visit here right now to the States, my roaster arrived, and it's waiting for me to get back to Zambia and to learn how to do that, and
Okay.
to begin teaching some of my Zambian coworkers, and so that's the next fun challenge I have ahead of me with coffee is roasting it myself there on the land. It's really kind of sad. If you came to visit us to see our operation
Yeah.
and to see our plants and to see our processing and all that, I couldn't serve you a cup of Living Hope coffee. And so,
Well, so
We'll
here's
be taking our sample roaster with us when we come for sure. I'll say that.
yeah, we'll do that. But see, here's the thing, Jamie, is that is the story for pretty much all developing countries as far as coffee goes. The coffee that is what we would consider the specialty coffee, the really good coffee, the people that harvest it, the country itself, all of them, they never taste it. They never taste it
mhm.
because, as you know, way more than Stefan and I do, it is a very, very poor country. And so every dollar that they can get somewhere, they're going to scrape by. And
It's
so,
definitely worth more to get out than it is to keep inside your own country and to have it for yourself. So
right, and I would even say,
Yeah,
I would say you are a vast minority in that you potentially are going to have a roaster on site. You just don't see that in these countries.
yeah, you only really
yeah,
see it maybe in some of the larger cooperatives or something like that that may have something
Yeah,
to sample roast or roast with.
right.
So.
Yeah, and that's and part of my vision is that we are able to cup and taste our own coffee on our farm, which is a necessity, but
yeah,
also to be able to produce enough to start getting it into stores in Zambia as well. And it's a luxury item. Here we drink coffee, like we drink water nearly, and we can afford to. But in a place like Zambia, most people can't. But there are enough people who can, and so there is a small growing market for coffee. Um, but there's not. There's not a lot of people selling it. There's several Zambian farms now, coffee farms, growing really good coffee, ourselves included. And it's exciting to be part of that, and exciting to. I look forward to this coming year, seeing Living Hope coffee on the shelves in the stores that we shop at.
and for us, the interesting thing is as much as y'all or you may not know as much yet about the roasting and then on past that, like we know the theoretical of how to grow, what affects the growth, how to process. But if you gave me a bean and told me to process it, like I would have no
Yeah,
idea.
we've read all the books and
Yeah,
we've gone to all the classes, and how that stuff affects
Right.
our end product. But if you just threw us into your production facility or threw us out in the farms and said go do it, we would be
we have no clue.
yeah we'd be utterly lost. So it's
But
great
you
to have
pick
a
it up
direct
quick, and
partnership. Yep.
yeah, that's part of the grace in this whole process. God's really provided us with what we need to do this, and um, my skills are really in more the overseeing the process. I have a good enough understanding of what needs to happen from seedling, from bean to cup to help get it there. I'm
Yeah,
not necessarily an expert in any of them. I did sleep in a Holiday Inn Express last night, so I
that's
pretend to
right.
be a coffee farmer,
That's
but
right.
um, but no, it's like I'm not the expert, but I have a good overview of what we need to do, and then make sure we have the right people in the right places doing the right things, and so the right guys are farming our coffee, and the right guys are roasting our coffee,
Yeah.
things like that.
Well, we're excited for sure to bring y'all on and tell us a little bit more about the not just the orphanage and the kids and what's going on there, but the whole plan. I know y'all have a plan and you have some stuff already in place and you're continuing to build. So tell us a little bit more
Yeah,
about that.
yeah. So we have approximately 45 acres, and um, the coffee takes about nearly half of that.
Right.
Um, And then the other half is our campus, on which we're building a real community ministry. And so the heart of it comes out of caring for these children who are vulnerable and at risk. Um, but so, but we're doing more than that. So we have 36 children right now. When we're completely built out, we'll take care of 112 children. We're in the process of beginning construction on a school that will be for our children, as well as 200 more from the community. We'll build a medical clinic, a vocational training center, and then we're also building a church resourcing ministry. Originally, our plan was to have a church on the campus. We're a Christian ministry, and we are committed to helping people know Christ. But in the process, I suggested realize that rather than building a church, because if we build a church, it'll be a nice American built
Yeah.
church that will attract a lot of people. Let's instead of doing that, let's invest in the churches that are near us and the pastors, provide training and resourcing for them. There are some pastors in the bush in Zambia and other African countries who don't even have Bibles, and so
Wow.
to get them resources and training and help that they need. And so we're building, it's a fairly holistic ministry. Like I said, the heart of it starts with the children, but then as we take care of them, it gives us the opportunity to take care of the surrounding community as well. And so that's what we're working hard to do.
Well, and you and I have talked about before, and you said earlier about 10%, which is an extraordinary amount of the population are orphans. And even, because you have to, I mean, I know that you would love to take them all in as we would, but you have to have some kind of um, limit as far as like how you decide. And so I know, if I'm correct, for y'all, it's double orphans, or somebody who doesn't have a father or a mother, or some kind of extenuating circumstance where there's not one but the other isn't interested at all. Could you go into that a little bit, and some of the
Yeah.
kids?
Yep. Yeah. We focus. We try to focus on double orphans, children who have lost both parents. At the same time, we do that knowing that there are some children who may have lost only one parent, and there are even some children who have. There's my son.
That's all right. He's not an
Um,
orphan.
no, he's not an orphan. He's 18 today. Today's his birthday.
Congrats to him.
Um, all right, I'll just start again. So yeah, we focus on double orphans, knowing that there are some children who may have only lost one parent, or there are even some children who have both parents that are more vulnerable or more at risk than some children who have lost both parents. The circumstances for one child who's lost both parents, he may have a a, a healthy aunt or uncle or grandparent who's
Right.
able to take care of him or her. And so there are some children who have lost their parents that are in good situations. And so we really look for those children who are most vulnerable, and we start with children who have lost both parents. Um, one really, I think, current happy story is we had our first girl graduate from high school this
Okay.
last year, and that's a big deal. The girls are the
Yeah.
most at risk because they're often married off in their early teens, become pregnant in their teens, and they
Mm.
just get stuck in this cycle of poverty. They're married off oftentimes because their parents or their caregivers, they can't take care of them. So
Yeah.
if they can find a husband who will take them on, then they're happy to do that, and they get a bride price in return. And
Wow.
so there's um, not always the best motivation for these girls to be married so young.
Mm.
And so it's really exciting that we had our first girl graduate high school this past year, and she's now in at the medical university in the capital studying pharmacy.
Okay. That's
And
great.
so that's one of those stories that and it's especially personal maybe to my wife and I, because our first trip to Zambia was in 2009, and that year we brought in 8 children, I think it was, into the orphanage that year, and she was the first one that we happened to pick up that day. When I say pick up, you don't just go into the bush and grab children. It's a long process
Yeah.
of our Zambian director networking with pastors and people and finding out children that might be good candidates for Living Hope, and
Right.
then meeting with their families and going through the social welfare system. But this young lady was the first one we picked up, and she it was you could just see God God orchestrating the whole process, because when we picked her up, she was just all smiles, and she was like the welcoming committee for the rest of the day for every other child that was picked up. She was just the one that would put her arm around them and kind of welcome them into the fold, even though she had just been welcomed herself. And now to see her beginning to make her own way in the world and starting her pharmaceutical studies is really, really exciting.
Just one thing that I have thought about and that has broken my heart in a good way before is, like you said, seeing somebody in a situation that is way, 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 way different than the situations that most of us face here in the United States. And that is their baseline, and they come to you happy. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like
Yeah,
she's you're not going to find that as much in the U.S. Somebody in her situation coming to you with a smile, and not just a smile, but then actively welcoming others. And like, for example,
right.
I've done a medical mission trip in Trinidad, and I saw the same thing. And so it just it broke me as far as that in my setting, it was that there were folks there who were my brothers and sisters in Christ, and they were content with what they had in a third world country. And it
Hmm.
just that gap between there and where we are most of the time in the US, just, I mean, in a good way, it just broke me.
Yeah, yeah. It you can't visit or live in places like that and not deal with the tension of, you know, us having so much in the States being, at baseline, we are well taken care of. People
Right.
across the board in the United States, what we see as struggles are not struggles at all compared to the rest of the world. And you can't visit those kind of places and not feel appreciative of what we
Yeah.
have, not feel sometimes guilty about what we have, and be forced just to deal with the reality of that. And how do you sort that out? And questions like why am I, blessed with what I have in the States, and others are, struggling just to feed themselves and their families in so many places around the world. Uh, and the best we can do is to be broken by it, like you said, and then
Yeah.
to engage and to figure out what's my part. It could be giving, could be going, could be praying, like whatever it is. What's my part to to bless those with what God's blessed me with.
Well, and speaking of that, Jamie, so tell us what, at Humble Coffee, what we're doing is we're partnering directly with y'all and with Living Hope International to be able to directly impact what you're doing there and give money back through coffee. But tell us some other ways that people can actively help what you're doing there in Zambia.
Yeah, the we're not doing the interview to ask for money, but one of the most obvious ways is they can support the ministry of Living Hope International. And right now, we're actually in the midst of a capital campaign to be able to build out the rest of our campus. The goal is $3 million, and we're at about 1 million. So it's been going well. God's been blessing our efforts. And you can sponsor a child. That's a great way to be engaged, and it's also a very personal way. You can write letters to that child, and they'll write you back. And the easiest way, even as you look now, you can go to livinghopeinternational.org and click on the support us link at the top of the page, and you can see different ways that you could be involved in supporting Living Hope International.
That's awesome. Stefan here, while you were talking, he was scrolling through some of the website, and I'm gonna have to figure out how to get a coffee mug. I saw a
Yeah,
Living Hope coffee mug.
I know I really wanted to be holding one today, but when we packed up and moved to Zambia, we've got our possessions spread all over the place, and I don't know where that's my kitchen island there. That mug and French press
Nice.
sitting in that picture.
Well, we'll have to
Yeah,
do some kind of trade at some point.
yeah.
Um,
I'll talk to one of my buddies here and see what I can see. When I left, we had a stock of them, and I need to find out where they are now. And I would
yeah.
be happy to get one to you and
Yeah.
get an humble in return.
Yes, for sure. And you know what we're
Yeah.
doing at Humble with the coffee, y'all have specialty grade coffee, Arabica beans. Like you said, they are not too far from the equator. The elevation is good. And this is actually our first direct relationship with a farm, and we couldn't be happier as far as who we're working with and y'all. Because I know, like, for example, you and I have talked about maybe even in this next harvest season, taking some and doing some different processing methods, and seeing what else we can get out of those beans. And if I remember
Hmm.
right, have y'all put some of those beans in some competitions, or do our
Yeah, so the African Fine Coffees Association has different um, branches by country, and so Zambia and Malawi are together, and so we've entered the Taste of Harvest the last few years, and we're always in the top three, top five.
That's
We
awesome.
we're doing really well. Yeah, there's a couple large farms in Zambia that have a little more resources than we do and can do more things, but we're scoring really well, and it was. I was nervous the first time we did it, like get a real official scoring and find out what other people think of our coffee, and getting the results back was really encouraging. And the greatest answer I have for it is that God's really been gracious. That
Yeah.
our plants are phenomenally fruitful and productive. The amount of coffee that we produce is well above what you would typically expect, and our processes continue to improve. And so as we do that, our coffee just keeps getting better and better.
Well, that's great, and we have thoroughly enjoyed having you on and getting to
Sure.
know Living Hope International a little better. So, for everybody out there, you have met one of the many hands at Living Hope International and Jamie Flowers, and you can support their ministry and what they're doing on the ground through the website that you see below. And you can also do it directly through Humble Coffee if you buy our coffee, and it's from Zambia, like we do with everything. Everything's single origin, and I haven't told Jamie yet, but the name of the coffee is Upper 90 because football or soccer is big in Zambia, and my son, who is a big soccer player, I got him to list out good soccer terms, and so we picked that one.
Yep.
So that's what it'll be called.
What does that mean? Upper 90. What's the soccer term
So
mean? Is that part of
when
the
you're
net?
yeah, when you're making a shot, it's that upper corner.
Okay.
Like when they say he
Yep.
hit it in the upper 90,
Yep.
that's what that means.
Okay.
So
And so we
yeah,
definitely
All
think your
right.
coffee's in the upper 90 for sure. So
yeah,
that's and all of our coffee
That's great.
names are obviously have some kind of an athletic or some kind of an outdoor or specific kind of name to it. So
yeah,
we thought this was definitely appropriate.
Well,
yeah,
when I tell my Zambian brothers, they'll be excited that you've chosen a football term
yeah,
because Zambians, they love their football. When our coffee got started, real
yeah.
quickly, um, one of our Zambian friends, a fellow minister, he had formerly been on the Zambian national football team,
Oh
and he was
wow,
the one that once we found out that we could grow coffee in Zambia, he said, "Oh, we used to have this sponsor from this coffee farm for the football team. I can connect you with him." And that's when we got our first seedlings that started us on our way. And
wow.
so
See,
there's
so it's
a
perfect.
real
Yeah.
it is perfect. It is
Yeah,
perfect. And so when I tell Chris, my former football playing friend, about the name, he'll be excited to hear that too.
Perfect.
yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, listen, we really enjoyed having you, and we appreciate all that you and everybody else do down in Zambia. I know the kids appreciate it and the country appreciate it. So thank you for coming on today.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure.
All right, we'll see y'all next time.